Everyone. Yeah, smile first, everybody. Yeah, good morning, everybody. And I will continue your class. I'm sorry. There was a few issues I had to solve. I had to go out to, yeah, buy some vegetables. Okay, here we are. I was talking to you yesterday about home country laws and how it, yes. We'll talk about Zoom later. Uh, we'll see. I'm coming on Zoom, yes, in 1 or 2 days. Now, currently, I'll continue on Facebook. See, coming on Zoom or Facebook is not the issue. Getting your classes regularly is the issue. So, leave it to me, I'll do it. Okay? Now, home country laws. We were talking about home country laws. In that, I went into manufacturing of goods. In that, you have worker safety laws, product standard codes, environment protection regulations. I talked to you yesterday about ponds and the HUL and Kodaikanal and the factory of thermometers, and how the thermometers, the remaining mercury in the thermometer had to be taken back to the US for dumping, which was dumped here only, and there were huge issues. Also, there were issues about workers getting affected. Some people lost their kidneys. Some many vital organs like lungs and all were affected. Yes, Yama, were affected. So all this was happening. All right. So based on that, I also told you about marketing products, advertising, how in India we require a story to tell about the advertisements, and then developing and utilizing technology like patents, copyrights, trademark laws, etc. Now, I don't know whether I told you about this one, uh, thermos. Thermos is actually the company brand name. Vacuum flasks were made by Thermos, and once they lost the patent, they wanted to make a brand barbecue grill. Now, what did they do is it's like this. For example, you want to make barbecue in your backyard. Yes, Masood? Masood, yes?
Yes, good morning, ma'am.
Good morning, Masood. I'm on Facebook doing class.
Yeah. So I call you because I think you started Zoom. So
Oh,
okay. Thank you, ma'am.
okay. I'm sorry. I thought that was urgent, so I called. It was. Well, we were talking about Thermos. Thermos made vacuum flasks, and what happened is when they lost their patent. I mean, lost means the patent has a time. Patent is time bound. So when the patent time got over, maturity, then they wanted to do something more different. So how did they do something different? They wanted to make grills, barbecue grills. Now these barbecue grills, they wanted to have enable people to keep them. Yes, Shilpi. They wanted to keep the barbecue grills should enable them to keep them in the backyard. Now, how do you keep them in the backyard? If you want to keep them in the backyard, imagine electric grill means a wire has to come from your house, a long wire to the place where you're keeping the back grill. Now, this grill they didn't want to. They wanted to make it a barbecue grill with batteries. So what they did is they talked to their employees, gave them these barbecue grills, and found out whether they were comfortable with it, and also asked them to cook on it. And see, a typical barbecued tomato, how will it look? A little scarred, blackened on the outside, and in the if you put it in your mouth, the juices will just burst, isn't it? So whether you get the same kind of barbecue on the electric grill as you get on the coal grill, right? Excuse me for a minute. Yeah, never mind. So whether you'll get the same kind of quality of barbecued tomato in a coal grill, the same thing will happen in a other grill. All these things were to be found out, so they gave it to their employees. See, please remember, we have to understand how people live. In your house, in the front yard, you will keep beautiful pots and flowers or pots and all that. In the backyard, you will keep your kitchen cloths or your dust cloths. Everything will be in the backyard. So you have to understand how people live and what they want, you see. I'm not talking about any connection with the dust cloths with the backyard grill, but what I'm trying to say is the people would not like to have a long wire from the house till the barbecue, so they made a battery operated grill. Brand barbecue grills made by Thermos are very famous these days. Okay, now home country laws directly regulate international business activities which originate within the country's borders. This is the direct effect. Indirectly, they affect the ability of domestic firms to compete internationally. There may be some kind of problems about maybe quotas or as I said yesterday, the content of nickel in the bone china plates that you were selling. All this directly or indirectly, they affect business activities occurring outside the country's borders. All right, let's go ahead. Uh, See what kind of restrictions are there on trading with unfriendly countries. For example, you have sanctions, you have embargo, and please look into the meaning of embargo, or I can tell you it's a comprehensive sanction against commerce. All right, next. See, Germany passed once a green dot law. What is this green dot? Uh, to reduce environmental costs, manufacturers, distributors, and retailers must, what they did is they have to, on all their packets, they must put a green dot. I know in India, green dot means vegetarian product. And this is not what it means. You must put a green dot. So wherever people use this product, there has to be a collecting agency or a shop where you can give back these packages, and they will collect it, and the manufacturer will take care of the disposal of these packets. All right, so this was the rule. Wherever you have to put a green dot, and a green dotted package has to come back to you. All right, this was what was there. Okay, then this is one very beautiful example, this concept called extraterritoriality. Now, attempt by countries to regulate business activities that are conducted outside their borders. Now, let us look at the coastline. All right. Whenever there is a coastline, a country has 200 nautical miles is their belongs to them. For example, in India's coastline, from the coastline, 200 nautical miles. What do you mean by nautical miles? If they're spelled as NAUTICAL, 200 nautical miles beyond all around the land belongs to India. Beyond that, it is international waters. Do you understand? So, you cannot control fishing in international waters, or you cannot say this is my waters. Our waters are 200 nautical miles. It doesn't mean you cannot fish in international waters, but then you there are suppose there is something happening, like some case where you have to file case against somebody, etc., then it has to go into international court, not Indian court. So these are the repercussions when it happens. So this thing. I'll tell you one beautiful example of extraterritoriality. In the US, this case was there. See, from India, a lot of prawns, all right, were being imported by the US. India was exporting a lot of prawns. In many of Indian southern states, they made freshwater prawns. It was called aquaculture. There were many farmers who started aquaculture, that is, making freshwater prawns, rearing freshwater prawns and exporting them to the US. What happened is these freshwater prawns were very welcome by the US, but there was a case. The prawns were also fished from the sea. When people were fishing in the sea, along with these prawns, small turtles were also being caught. Now you know that turtles are amphibians. If you keep them in the on the shore and they are free, they will crawl back into the sea and they will live. So, in America, a group of environmentalists found out that 1,65,000 turtles were dying every year along with the prawns. So they said you have to first they made some activity and all. Then they implemented the bill and all that. By the time implementation of what they wanted to happen, it took 2 or 3 years. Then America said they will ban the import of prawns from India, I think Thailand, Myanmar, 4 countries, India included. They said we will ban the import of prawns from these 4 countries. Why? Because they have to adhere to one condition. The condition was that these people should fish in the sea for prawns with turtle friendly nets. What do you mean by turtle friendly nets? It obviously means your nets have to have a hole for the turtles to climb up. Now you catch the prawns and you keep them on the shore. Then if there are the turtle friendly nets means there are suitable pores or holes in the net which enables these turtles to crawl back into the sea, so the turtles will have a chance at life. So they said if these countries do not do their prawn fishing with turtle friendly nets, then we do not want to, we ban imports from these countries. So India and all these countries, there was one country who did adhere to turtle friendly nets. Now what happens if you have turtle friendly nets? Obviously the fishermen will be unhappy, because when you have turtle friendly nets. Yes, good morning, everyone. Happy day, Shweta, everybody. Ayesha winning. Good morning. You can listen to this class, even if you are juniors. So I repeat what I said. US was importing prawns from India, and Indians were having two kinds of prawns. One is from the sea, one is from freshwater ponds. That was aquaculture. Was ponds were prawns were cultured or reared in freshwater ponds. But when where the sea prawns were concerned, the American one organization of activists, environmentalists, they said India and other countries were responsible for the death of about 1,65,000 turtles, which these turtles were being caught along with the prawns and they were dying. So they insisted that India and 3 other countries go into fishing in the sea for prawns with turtle friendly nets. Now, what do you mean by turtle friendly nets? Obviously with pores, which enables these turtles to crawl back into the sea. So they banned India and other countries. Now India went to the International Court of Justice. They went into the court that is decided by the WTO, and they said that America is doing extraterritoriality. What do you mean by extraterritoriality? In this case, America is dictating terms to India to do fishing in Indian waters, and that is not America's territory. They cannot dictate terms for in extraterritoriality. And yes, the court agreed, and this it was taken care of. Now, next, you see this example. Next, impact of MNCs on host countries are first economic and political impacts. What are the economic and political impacts? MNCs, see, this is an important question. What are the political and economic impacts, the positive impacts of MNCs on countries? I'm talking about the positive impacts first. They create jobs, all right? Naturally, they create a lot of jobs. Now, see, next, they pay taxes. The local economy benefits, so you can do a lot of other things. Now, see, once, when I was browsing on the net, I found that the Belandur Gram Panchayat is online. So curiosity took the, curiosity, and two students of mine, two or three students, and I, we visited the Belandur Gram Panchayat. Then what happened is we found to our utter pleasant surprise a beautiful, neat, decent building, and we spoke to the current president, and there was a lady there, and she's told us what all they do. They said they gave loans to all the people, for anything like buying cows or anything that these people require. And they gave employment, etc., etc. A lot of things, good things this panchayat was doing for the Belundur people. One thing, excuse me, one thing they told me is that they also train young ladies who would like to drive. They train them as drivers, and so there are huge number of apartments there, and most of these apartments have senior people whose children are working the whole day. So, or maybe for children, little children, when these senior people or these little children have to be taken to the hospital or some other thing, they prefer these lady drivers to come and drive their cars. I thought it was a beautiful concept, women empowerment idea. It was really good. So then my question was, how is this Gram Panchayat, so called Gram Panchayat? Gram supposed to be a gram. How they can, yes, Prabha, how they can afford to do all this? Where does the money come from? Then I realized it was because of the taxes paid. The taxes paid from a so-called village wouldn't have been so much, but then people have, there are in Gram Panchayat limits, you have huge companies there like Intel, etc., and they pay corporate taxes. So there was a lot of money collected from these companies, and all of it was being used very wisely and well. Initially itself, some visionary had taken, all of them were visionaries, and they had done something wonderful. This Belandur Gram Panchayat was doing wonderful work with all the taxes they collected. They made sure that their people benefited greatly. Now, also, so this is one example. Technology transfers have positive effects. I will talk to you about the positive and negative effects of technology transfer. What is technology transfer, etc., in another class. But what I want to tell you today is technology transfer means transfer of some technological, maybe innovations or manufacturing processes or some kind of work processes from one country to another. All right. So these technology transfers take place. For example, when Toyota comes to India, has come to India, Indians will get a first-hand knowledge of their superior manufacturing practices. Any manufacturing practices cannot be talked online. You have to see and experience. So when, for example, when Toyota has come into India in Bidadi, their superior manufacturing technologies of how they manufacture cars is available for Indians to see. So these are the positive effects. The negative effects are of a multinational firm is competition to local firms. See, this is an important question. Something that, it is not a run of the mill question. A question which makes you think. So you have to think, and this is an important thing because later on in your career also you can use this. It's like this. There is competition to local firms. All right, this is natural, isn't it? When you sell, packaged products or something, and when someone is just wrapping it in paper, people may not like, or or vice versa. So local firms may lose jobs, profits. It may result in downsizing. Political impact due to the power could be, which could be misused. See, in small countries, so for example, what I so called a banana republic, which is agrarian. Okay, it's not a republic where we say ye banana hai, wo banana hai. That doesn't mean make it a banana republic. If a country say wo banana hai, ye banana hai, it's definitely not a banana republic. A banana republic is somewhere where you have an agrarian economy. So, imagine a small country, an agrarian economy, which doesn't have much commercial activity, and there a multinational firm goes, they with the money power, so they may start influencing the political decisions of that country. All right. MNCs can counter efforts made by local governments to restrict their production. In such a small country, when if the country's government tries to restrict the production of MNCs, they may try to counter it because of money power. They may threaten to shift operations. When they shift operations, jobs also will shift. Okay. Now, the positive cultural impacts. People in the host cultures develop new norms, standards, and behavior. For example, if they are very disciplined about time management, stress management, and all such things, automatically these people also get, the host country people also fall in line. All right, if whatever good things I'm talking about, suppose there is safety standards for employees, safety standards for production, for machinery, more sanitary products, safer. If there is like that, naturally the host country people will learn. Then cultural impacts negative. I'll give you a very big example of Nestle. Infant mortality rate increased due to Nestle's advertising of their um, infant foods. Excuse me. It is like this. See, what happened is Nestle has baby milk for zero, that is born baby, to 15 days, 15 days to 1 month, 1 month older than 1 month. The fat content in the milk is suitably adjusted. It's a beautiful product. We have nothing to say about the product. Excellent product. But see, what happens is when you give a baby a bottle of milk, educated mothers know that the bottle and the entire this thing components of the bottle need to be sterilized. All right. How do you? So unless you sterilize, you cannot give the baby even water to drink. So, what happened is when Nestle gave free milk packets to uneducated mothers in backward countries, these mothers assumed that their babies will get better food than their own breast milk, and they gave the infants this milk without understanding the necessity to boil and cool the water that they were mixing the milk in. They just took their drinking water, which was not even pure by any standards, and they mixed it in the drinking water and they gave it to the babies. and naturally there was infection. The bottles were not boiled, the water was not boiled. Though the milk content, we cannot disagree, wonderful product, but it was contaminated because of the water and the non-sterilization of the bottles. Many infants got infected and they died. So Nestle was brick battered for this. So you have to look at the cultural impacts, negative impacts. Is that Nestle should have understood, should have made research and trained the mothers about the necessity to sterilize and purify, boil the water, etc., etc. So these are the some the cultural negative impacts. Now, ownership issues. When left wing governments obtain power, they choose to transfer ownership of resources from the private to the public sector. This process is called nationalization, as has happened with our banks in 1969. You will understand that nationalization issue. Expropriation is another negative impact. Expropriation. See, this happens when governments want to give some land in their country to a multinational corporation because of the benefits they get. Um, you know, if the people don't agree, nationalization can happen. If nationalization, they get the compensation. But here there is something called expropriation. There also, see, when the host country government compensates the private owners for their losses, then such a transfer is called expropriation. When they do not, they just take over the land and do not give any kind of benefit to the owners. I mean, they take over your land but they do not compensate you, such a transfer is called confiscation. The whole thing is nationalization, but confiscation is where no compensation is given to the owners, and expropriation is where some monetary compensation is given. Now, this can be privatization as well. All right, this you take it over. Then there's something about intellectual property rights. See, intellectual property rights includes patents, copyrights, trademarks, and brand names. Now here, I'm just mentioning it, but intellectual property rights should essentially be dealt with in a topic altogether. So I will deal with it. I'll tell you one example. See, in France, there are places like there are geographic areas like Burgundy and Champagne, etc. What people did in Australia, for example, winemakers named their wines as Burgundy and Champagne. So um, French winemakers had a issue. They said Champagne and Burgundy, for example, are places in France. How can Australian winemakers call their wines Burgundy and Champagne because it those places are ours? You understand? So, like how India had a issue when some people wanted to patent the name Neem. Neem is essentially neem products are household thing in India. We've been from centuries. Neem is part of our everyday food. You're not getting hungry. Have some neem. Your various things. You have an itch on your body. Use neem in your bathing water. So neem is everyday thing. You have ants in your garden. Use neem oil. So neem is something. Neem is a panacea for for all our products. So neem, being essentially Indian, when a foreigner tried to patent the name neem, Indian government had made an issue, which was rightfully this thing. And now, intellectual property rights are something that you all should know in great detail. So I will talk to you in another slide, entire thing. And now I will now. This is just about a little this thing. Now, we just look at the examples I have given. With this, I want to conclude this slide. And now we are going to talk about Legal again. Look at the legal environment that I have sent you. We'll go into that PowerPoint. It says legal. All right. Please take that. Okay. See, please remember that governments affect the economic and legal environment of a country. Why? They set monetary and tax policies, price controls, intellectual property regulations. Watch the slide. They influence labor relations, trade policies, capital and exchange controls, and transfer pricing policies. Government can be a regulator, they can regulate your trade, a legislator, a competitor, a customer, a distributor, and a potential partner. So, all these kind of roles a government can play. Now, you look at it, government in one side and the MNC in one side. How this works. This particular slide is based on this. Now, these PowerPoints will enable you to write your answer about whether an MNC is useful for a country or not. How can a country counteract the negative impacts in order to have only the most of the positive impacts? Negative impacts will be there. How to counteract them? You know, when you have the want to have the positive impacts, the negative impact are part of the parcel, right? Hi, Shan. A part of the parcel. But you need to counter them in order to this thing have the benefits of yes. Hello, Sushant. Yeah. So now listen. Multinationals have power. How does their power come from, and what is this power? We could call it as bargaining power with the government of the country of operations. As I told you before, a country of operations is where a foreign firm comes into another country and wants to have its operations there. So, a country of operations, with the government of the country of operations, a foreign firm needs bargaining power. Now, how do you do with this bargaining power? Why and how do they have? These are the things that give them, the following things are the things that give them the bargaining power. The first one is proprietary technologies and or proprietary products. Imagine the products are so strong that the country requires them. Then what do? The government will try to bargain and keep them in the country. Capital. MNC naturally is most of the MNCs are naturally powerful because they are capital intensive. All right. Potential tax revenue. Right. Potential tax revenue. Then big exports, employment, complex management requirements. All right. And political and economic alliances. These are all the things. If you do not understand any of this, just let me know. Now, on one side, we have the MNC's bargaining power. On the other hand, we have the government's bargaining power. We'll see how the next slide, how governments get the bargaining power. The first thing is control over access to the country. You cannot enter the country unless the government says so, isn't it? The government has to tell you whether you can come into the country or not. Then, ability to provide incentives. The government can provide the following incentives like grants and any kind of grants, investment allowances, access to areas backward, where industrial backward areas, where tax havens, no need to give tax, that is subsidies. And not only tax, some countries are tax havens where you do not have to pay. Then you can say preferential tax treatment, do not pay for 5 years, initial 5 years, something like that. Import duty exemptions, loans, government can provide loans through their banks, or then loan guarantees and interest subsidies. If a substantial amount of loan is there and the lending agency requires collateral or guarantees, the government itself can give, and interest subsidies. Excuse me. The home government also remains important to the multinational enterprise. It provides its main operating environment. Home government can help in negotiating in negotiations in international affairs and incentives. It's like this. Imagine the prime minister of a country, say Switzerland, comes to India, and some kind of MOUs are signed about trade, etc. So because such a there is such a what to say such a deal made between Switzerland and India. On the umbrella of this deal, companies can trade. Suppose there was no deal between Switzerland. Say India will export coffee to Switzerland, so the coffee manufacturers in India will automatically jump onto the bandwagon of that policy, of that deal. They will start saying, "Okay, I'm there to export." When India will send you coffee, who is in India? We, the exporters of India. They will go and they will send the export the coffee. So the main operating environment itself is provided by the government of the country. It negotiating in international affairs. Now, suppose India and Switzerland say, "Okay, I'm not going to put any import taxes on the coffee." So the coffee there sold will be competitive rates. If the import tax is put there in Switzerland, when compared to Swiss coffee, Indian coffee would be expensive and it wouldn't have any market. But if the deal also says that no import taxes will be put on Indian coffee, naturally it will be sold there at competitive prices. The home government provides own incentives for foreign investment to targeted areas. It provides incentives. The home government can even close the home environment to competition, isn't it? If you don't want competition in a particular product, the Indian government can ban imports, isn't it? Into the country. Okay, like that. So there are various things here I've given you. You just look into it. It will, when we come to class, I want to have a discussion about this, how it actually impacts a country. Many of you, I will talk about India. Our students, Indian students, will talk about India and how it impacts India. Some of you can talk about your country, how it impacts your country. We'll have an interesting discussion when we actually meet. Now, I have talked to you about um, political risk and how to forecast. This you can just see my slides. I think one thing. I have already spoken about this. This is for you to read. All right. With this, we'll stop here. Wait. Now I have to do this slide. Strategies for managing political risk. I've talked to you about political risk, cultural risk, legal risk, etc. Right? We are still in the environment context. Now, strategies for managing political risk. What do you mean by political risk? As I told you yesterday, it is important to know the political environment when you enter into a country. The political environment would mean what type of government is there, what type of, is it a theocracy, is it a bureaucracy, is it a democracy, and it would also mean is it mixed economy, is it capitalism, is it communism? All this is necessary. So, how will you, what are the strategies? See, why we are studying all this is because we need to create strategies to counter all these activities, right? So, first one is create alliances with local partners. You can see foreigners come into India as joint ventures. So it becomes simpler for them. What becomes simpler? The licenses, the everything, uh, accessing resources of the country. All this becomes simpler because it is similar when you have a joint venture with a domestic partner. A domestic partner knows the ropes. They know what to do, where to get the license, how to go about, what is the procedure for everything. So, create alliances with local partners. Next, utilize political insurance agencies. Yeah, insure yourself. Next, build political support at home and in the host country through political action, lobbying, or any other proactive measure. You have to have a vision of what is happening, what may be happening, and accordingly, you have to take action. Next, continuously monitor political and economic development in order to prepare for changing political risk. So, you have to monitor. It is necessary. Um, everyone monitors. If you see, for example, you're expecting the government to create a new policy. How will the policy affect you? It could be an economic policy, it could be a trade policy, any policy, a fiscal policy. The taxes can change. How will it impact you? So these kind of things have to be taken. Remember that business is international, but all politics are local. Your business is international, but politics are local. How politicians behave in India is different from how politicians will behave in the UK or in the US. How the or in Sri Lanka. All these are different. So politics is essentially local. So it is necessary to manage political relationships at all local levels. All right, there is some more here to do. I have talked to you about the legal system. You have the common law, the civil law. You look at all this. I told you common law is based on judicial precedents. The civil law is based on codified legal code. All right? Theocratic systems. Theocratic systems are where the country's administration is based on religion. All right. Sometimes some people use a mixture of common, civil, and religious law. So you have a common law based on precedents, civil law based on code, and religious law based on religion. For example, Malaysia, Singapore, and Indonesia, they have a combination of all these three laws. Uh, Iran, for example, or Saudi Arabia are examples of theocracy where the government is based on religion. All right. India is, of course, a democracy. See, fair administration of justice is also necessary. Now, we are talking about a concept of international law based on memberships in international organizations and treaties. Sometimes enforcement is difficult. Even interpretations vary based on culture. So it's all based on how your lawyer argues for you. So you have to be so very careful about this. Now, patents. I think about patents and all, I will talk to you. Patents, copyrights, what they are, how many years they hold, will they hold in a foreign country if you buy an Indian patent. All these I want to discuss in a particular slide. All right. I think you just can see these slides and read. Now I will send you some other slides for tomorrow. I think with this class, seniors, I'll wind up. There is lot more than my talking. There's lot to think about what I told you. Think about it as I've given you some assignments. Please do them. Now, I would like you to talk about, make one more assignment. Your assignment is India a good country for investment by a multinational? You talk about the political environment of India, the technological supremacy. We are technologically pretty good in software and all that, where we are not good, not good enough. I mean, we are good. Then economic policies. Take a look. We all don't know everything about everything. So look into websites. All right, you will understand. Google your answers, and you will get also academic articles. If you Google, there are many academicians who have written about this. You can take an opinion, their opinion too, because this is all researched articles. You just write the topic and say academic articles. You'll get academic articles regarding the same. They may be for or against. It doesn't matter. It will be useful. So take some articles and think, give it a thought. Foreigners also should write about India. It will also give you a, when you write about India, you give you a this thing about idea about your country, what your country can do, how it is, etc. If you wish, you can do the same analysis about your own country, all right, and how they are working, etc. We would also like to know what about your country, about your countries. I mean, and then what was it? Yes, we were talking about yeah, political, then the legal environment, the cultural environment. Is Indian environment, all these kind of environment, are they conducive to multinationals? Make an assessment of your own countries as well. Will be useful. With this class, I'll wind up, and I will come back in 5 minutes, exactly 5 minutes for the juniors. Juniors, log on and wait. Give me 5 minutes. I will be back. All right. I need to just drink some water and come back. Okay. Bye, everyone. Love you all. Smile. Yeah, I want to see a smile that is tooth to tooth. Okay. Bye. Be brave. Follow the social distancing. Stay safe. Stay at home. God bless you. Bye bye.